Hey, this is snow. I've been photographing snowy subjects lately quite a bit. You know, I like snow as a thing, you know, white stuff. And then I also like how it changes the landscape and, you know, creates new possibilities for photography. I also made a few videos already about shooting snowy stuff. I put the links up there for your viewing pleasure. But I thought that in this video I try to summarize some of my tools and tricks. Now, first one is composition, and I especially love to make minimalistic compositions with snow. Snow hides details, it changes the perspective, especially if there's a snowfall, it hides almost anything that is a little bit further away. So it gives you possibilities to create minimalistic photographs, and that's always what I try to do with snow. Almost always I'm going towards minimalistic views and minimalistic compositions. The other big thing is how it reflects light. It's amazing how much it adds light to everything and how it changes the direction of the light. Like typically all the light comes from above, but in the snowy landscape it feels like more light comes from the ground. And that's also really fascinating when you try to measure the light and you compose your picture. So, I mean, compositional elements, minimalistic view, and then light. Those are my two main things that I work with when I'm shooting, you know, snowy things. Then I made a list of some other stuff that I, kind of a little bit more details that I thought that I will share with you. Maybe you can use some of them. Now, during the daytime, I overexpose my pictures. 2 stops, at least 1 stop. Now, here's the thing. When you take a light meter, it doesn't know what you are measuring. If you are measuring snow, or if you are measuring, you know, gray gravel, or if you are measuring a portrait, it just measures light. And a light meter is typically calibrated so that it expects the topic that you are measuring at to be an average gray, you know, kind of a mid-tone thingy. So now when you measure snow, it thinks that it should be gray, medium gray. And if you just read the light meter, you get gray snow. Or if you have an automatic camera and you don't force it to overexpose, then it just thinks that, hey, I measure the light, whatever that is should be gray, and it makes it gray. That's why you need to lie to your light meter and say to it that no, it's snow, make it white. And you do it by overexposing. At least 1, I typically overexpose 2 stops. Hey, so here is a prime example how snow fools your light meter. As I was editing the video, I noticed that in the beginning, my camera measured the light conditions from the snow plate and totally misread the lightness. It made the snow gray and the rest of the picture too dark. And when I moved the plate away, it got brighter. So that's a good example how much light comes from snow, even indoors, and how it fools your light meter. Kind of interesting. So that's the first thing. Then beware of the reflected light. Like as I already said, the direction of the light is different. And if you in the landscape situation use to measure the light from the distance, like from the horizon, now point your light meter also downwards, just immediately to the snow on the ground, and read those, you know, measures, because you may be surprised how much light there is coming from the ground. That's a different direction than on the summertime photography. So that's the second one. Then when you or at least when I finalize my prints, I let sometimes snow to burn through. Like I don't care if it's absolutely white, because that's what snow is, especially on the sunny day. There are hardly any nuances. It is just so wide. It's the widest thing that you can imagine. So let that show in your picture. I mean, if you try to, make a landscape look dirty and all that, that's a different story. But if you really want to shoot and show your audience really wide stuff, let it burn through. Don't worry about if it burns through. I mean, I don't. Then how do you deal with your camera? I mean, taking a camera into an extreme cold may be sometimes challenging, especially if there's a snowstorm or snowfall. The snow accumulates on top of your camera, melts and gets all wet. Now my trick is that if I know that I'm going to go on a landscape photo trip, and it's going to be snowing tomorrow, I leave my camera in my car overnight. If my camera gets below the freezing temperature, snow won't accumulate on top of it. You can just blow it away. And the colder your camera is in the photo situation, the better. Now we are talking about analog cameras without batteries or anything. So the colder your camera is, the better. That sometimes surprises people and they try to keep them warm, but I'm going to the other direction. When you then take your camera back to the warm, inside, put it into a plastic bag, into an airtight bag, and let it warm up at least several hours before you take it out. Now, cold is not dangerous for cameras, but moisture is. And when you take a cold object indoors, you get a lot of moisture in it. And you think about your eyeglasses when you walk in from the cold weather inside, they all get, wet. So the same happens with your camera. So put it into a plastic bag, let it warm there. Saves you from a lot of trouble. Good shoes. I remind myself also about that, like I'm bad with shoes, so good shoes. Weather radar. Hey, I mean, nowadays you can predict the snowfall pretty accurately using weather radar and time your session according to your needs. I'm a snowfall chaser, so I always try to look at my weather radar. Now, 15 past 12, there's a snowstorm coming. I better be out then. So that's a great tool. Hey, and then last but not least, a crazy idea. Like, I sometimes, or actually very often, want to create really clean snow pictures. Really clean snow pictures with very little grain. And like last time I had Ilford HP5 Plus with me. This is not the most grainless films there's a certain amount of grain, but I wanted to reduce the grain and I wanted to get all the shades out. So I developed it in cold developer. I used 10 degrees centigrade developer and develop it for half an hour. So what happens then when you use really cold developer? It minimizes the grain. Cold developer, allows you to add the development time. So you can let the darks to develop fully. So you get all kind of nuances and all kind of shades, which is really nice. But then the cold prevents the light parts to burn through. So it sort of like compresses and in a good way lets the details come out without burning through. Cold development is really one of my tricks that I use, especially in the winter pictures when some of the details are hard to manage. These pictures were taken with this method. worse the weather, the better are the pictures, and that is especially true with snowy landscapes and winter pictures. So don't be a sissy. Go out when the weather is bad. See you out there. As a kid, I was always told that don't eat snow. I don't know why. I bet there are not many calories in snow.